the polling that I just showed before, Demos AU, it just fits in with the wider picture of what we know is happening with The Voice. But remember, one of the things that I talked about all the way through, and one of the reasons I sat for a while saying 60-40, this thing's going to pass, was, put simply, you were going to end up in a scenario where people under 50 had a view and people over 50 had a view. Demographically, the role has changed now, where more people are under 50 than over 50. So while you may well have had 80% of people over 50 saying no, you may well have had 90% of people under 50. But as you can see, even in the inner city, even in the inner cities, let alone the suburbs, let alone the bush, and even in the demos of under and over 45, the dominance that was assumed is not there. Now, Amanda, there's going to be books and books and books and university courses about why this did and didn't happen, and why people were truly stolen out of the result that they should have, blah blah blah. Can I just suggest to people, maybe people didn't like the idea? Is that possible, Amanda, that maybe people just didn't like the idea?
Maybe we can trust Australians and their common sense when it comes to the values that make this country great, like the idea that it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from or which bit of this country you come from or when you got here, we're all Australians. And so we all have the same potential and we all have the same rights in our democracy and we all have the same status before the law. It's a pretty darn good principle on which to organise a country, and maybe we should trust Australians' common sense to value that and want to keep it.
Now, of course, many of us see lots of weird things that are, technically in service of one side or the other, but they're not really officially sanctioned. Oh, yeah, but this was officially sanctioned at a Yes campaign event that Julia Gillard was yapping away at in London today.
We're not gonna sit in silence. We're not gonna live with fear. Come on. Your voice trying to understand it. Make noise and make it clear.
Michael Kroger, you've got a great set of pins. Geez, I know you're a little bit jet lagged from getting back, but well done, mate. I thought that was one of your best.
Yeah, it was good. Actually, not a bad voice, I thought, by the way. Mate, I'll tell you what, there's two things to say about this. One, the more the Yes campaign concentrates on things like this and insults Australians by not giving them any detail, the more it's likely this will be defeated. There's all sorts of questions out there that people have been asking. They can't get any answers, and the Yes campaign can't provide any answers, and that's one of the reasons fundamentally people are going to vote no. The second thing to say is, if you looked at that very interesting poll you just put up, those that know most about Indigenous affairs in this country are people in rural Australia and regional Australia. They're 30-60 against it. Those that know least about Aboriginal affairs, mainly because they've never met one or never been to an Aboriginal community in the city, i.e. the city elites, they're 40-40. They think, oh, maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not, we don't really know. No, they don't know. But those that know most are against it 2-1. That tells you a hell of a lot, mate.
Now, Erin, one of the many reasons I love you is your insight that comes via FM radio, right? This is where compulsory voter land lives, right? Because they're busy, they want to do other things, they're not all in every day. I'm not imagining you're doing at 7:10 a voice break all the time. I'm not suggesting for you to speak on the behalf of the audience. But when I've done conversations on FM shows all the way around the country, I get one host who's generally a little bit no, and one host who says, look, I want to vote yes, but... do you get the sense that is the key issue here, where people say, even look, I want to vote yes, but there's not enough information. I don't trust politicians. Like what are you getting the sense of about people who aren't making an ideological decision? They're just making you know what? I get the idea, but I'm not putting the vibe into the Constitution.
Can I tell you something really honestly, Paul, which is generally how I tend to live my life? We have not touched The Voice on our show. And I say that with all sincerity, we have not touched it. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're in that kind of environment, not on Sky, because we're a news and opinion show, so it's our job to talk about things that matter. But in that environment, whenever it's raised, or I might raise it sometimes, there might be a particular story that I think is interesting, or I'd like to gauge our listeners' interest, everyone just says, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's fraught with danger. And how sad is that? I had two conversations today with two very different groups of people, one with a couple of mums picking up my daughter from preschool and with another couple of girlfriends of mine. And the girlfriends who I know very well are certainly not conservative. You wouldn't put them in that category. Both said to me at an early dinner with our kids this evening, whispered in. We were talking about men and different ridiculous things, and it was loud as all hell. The second I brought it up, voices went down and they whispered in, I'm not voting for it. I'm not voting. And I said, what? Why are you whispering? They said, I don't want people to hear. And isn't that sad that we have become a country where people are afraid to have a really legitimate conversation about something that really significantly matters because we're afraid that people would think we're racist? I have been in a position in a rag that I won't name, where there has been the inference that I had been racist. And I tell you what, there is nothing more appalling that you can say about someone. There is nothing more offensive. There is nothing that strikes fear into people more than someone thinking you're a racist, because it is abhorrent. It is an appalling thing. And the fact that so many good, decent Australians are afraid to talk openly about this is a loss for our whole country. Watching the Qantas, and I know you're going to get into that in just a moment, the Senate inquiry, and hearing people say, yes, of course we painted yes on the plane because we believe in reconciliation, is so offensive. People who are voting no, most of them believe in reconciliation as well. They just don't think this is the right way to do it. So I'm sad that we can't any longer in this country have a rational debate about something that involves Aboriginal people or different races without being called racist. I find it really sad.